So the idea here is, how do you get out of the rut of like email marketing and pushing out those campaigns and those types of interactions into real different innovative ideas that'll help you grow your business. So I would like to welcome to the stage, first, Clint Carnell. Clint has some incredible medical aesthetic accomplishments. He's the former CEO of Hydrofacial. He's the founder of Orange Twist and has a current role as the CEO of Innergize. Welcome, Clint. Second up will be Jo Kelton. Jo has been so kind to share her expertise in a number of our sessions this week. She's the COO of Removery, which is an international company focused on tattoo removal. That company has grown leaps and bounds. There are over 150 centers in 3 countries so far, with more growth on the horizon. Welcome, Jo. And then finally, we have Sachin Kamat, who recently retired from his role as a director at Enrich. Enrich is a luxury salon brand in India with over 80 locations. Welcome to the team. So good morning, folks. You know, I want to start out talking about the pandemic. The pandemic obviously had a lot of impact on all of our businesses worldwide. And what I'm looking to understand is, now that we're at a place where we can look back a bit, talk about 1 or 2 innovative strategies that you developed during the pandemic as sort of a reaction that have helped your business grow and you still have in place today. Clint.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Congratulations. Great to be with some entrepreneurs here. I'm sure we all struggled through this. I think in the case of Hydrofacial, we were about 900 some employees. And the next day, we were about 70 employees. And we had tens of thousands of estheticians that were equally frightened. You know, the theory was either we're going to burn this out or we're all going to die. And so we chose not to die. And what we did is double down on the relationship with our employees and our estheticians 2 ways. One is with our employees, all of those laid off, we put all the names down, and we said we're bringing every single person back. And by November of 2020, we were able to do that and take the company public. For Orange Twist, we went from 120 employees to 4 of us. And the same thing, we basically were in communication. We put up groups like many of you did. And I think the communication and the relationships were incredibly important and allowed both those companies to kind of come roaring back afterwards. But relationships, communication, just good old-fashioned empathy for your customers and your employees was the key to keeping those relationships together.
Fantastic. I've heard that as a theme in a lot of different talks on a lot of different topics over the last couple of days. Jo, what can you offer?
Yeah, we did really exactly the same. So we had just formed in 2019, so we were a really young company. We shut down the 4 brands that we had at that point. We kept every employee exactly the same. We had communication with them on a weekly basis. We had one of our senior leadership team call every person every week to make sure they were okay, if they needed anything. We had digital communication. At the same time, we were also contemplating rebranding the 4 businesses into one. So we used the pandemic to our advantage. So I think with every sort of situation, every economic situation, every dragon that you encounter, you sort of have to sit back and say, how can I use this to my advantage? And we rebranded the 4 businesses and reopened as a single business under a new brand. I think Zenoti did some great work for us at that point, merging the databases into one, and our teams did amazing work in recreating our online and offline customer experience to match the new brand.
Very cool. Great story. Great story. And Sachin?
Yeah, just to give some context, Enrich 80 centers, 1.2 million customers a year, 2,000 employees, and 7 cities in India. Okay, so one of the things we did, the first thing was we took a lot of courage from Winston Churchill's quote, where he said, "Never waste a crisis," because a crisis allows you to do things which otherwise you could never do. And I'll just reel out to you very quickly a couple of things that we did on the customer side and some that we did on the employee side. So Enrich's positioning is, the line that we use is called "Love begins with you." And the idea is that we help our customers love themselves more, and we believe everything starts there. What we did was we first said we should engage with customers during this time much more than we usually do, because even though the stores are shut, we want to help them by engaging with them continuously and continue to do what we do. So we ran a campaign called Love Begins With Us, with the whole logic saying that each one of us should stop thinking about me, but start thinking about us, because only when each one of us will be safe, will all of us be safe. So that's one thing that we did. The second thing we did was we ran a social commerce pilot to sell products. And we did that with the biggest product partner we have, and that is something that is going on even till now. The third thing we did was we co-created with our customers through a process of calls and emails the protocol that we are going to follow once the lockdown ends. And that kind of reassured them and helped them do things. Finally, we ran something called Call Is Well, because we were inundated by calls from customers saying, when can you start doing something? And some of them were even happy if you were able to sneak somebody in and get stuff done, because you're really, really tired. And we ran something called Call Is Well, where we did 1,20,000 calls, where our stylist called their individual customers with a use, about 20% of those calls went through a video system, where they actually helped their customers do stuff for themselves using another family member's help. So these are a few things we did from the customer side. As far as the employee side, we actually did a daily video for 148 days. This again was a 90-second video which would go out between 6 and 8 in the evening, which was some sort of an advisory, allowed them to figure out how they wanted to process, how we suggested they should process this thing. Second thing, we did about 8 town halls through all the lockdowns, and we co-opted them in all the decision making, even something as simple as or as complex as whether we would not take wage cuts or whether we would, reduce people. So these are the kind of things. We set up a war room. We did donation programs for the retail employees who lost jobs. So even while you were going through something, you still had it in you to help others in the same domain who probably weren't as lucky. So just a few things that we did.
Great, thank you. Great examples. Joe, I want to talk a little bit about partnerships. So my next question is really around what types of partnerships have you created to help extend your brand's reach?
We work with tattoo artists. So as a tattoo removal company, it might seem counterintuitive that we are very, very pro-tattoo. We work with, we have a team member that specifically develops relationships with tattoo artists. We attend conventions. We have programs that we treat tattoo artists free of charge. They then refer their clients to us. So across the year, I think we've attended 30 conventions across the US, Canada, and Australia. We judge tattoo competitions at those conventions. Annually this year, we'll have a revenue of around $3 million coming from referrals from tattoo artists alone. We also work with them to get mentions on social media. So every month we have about 50 artists mention us on their socials. They all have reach of a few thousand people, so that gives us an increased brand awareness through that counterintuitive partnership.
Great, thank you. And Clint, I think you had a good example of this as well.
Yeah, partnerships are great. I think, you have to decide as an entrepreneur, are you a mercenary or are you a missionary? And I'm a fan, if you're an entrepreneur like many of you out there, you want as many friends amplifying your message and the why to do business with you as you can. So with Hydrofacial, early days, it was a small company, nobody knew about us, we didn't have great ingredients. And so we actually went out to the medical grade skincare companies, which could have been considered competitors, and created boosters. Simple Keurig type of concept where we'll do the espresso machine, you provide quality ingredients. What it did is all of a sudden we had hundreds of representatives talking about us. We had both sales forces sell, we split the profits, and it really amplified Hydrofacial. In the case of Orange Twist, I think our teams really try to dive into the community. So are you in the Soccer Moms Club? Are you in the book club? Are you part of whatever's important in that community? Because when you have a multi-site like many of you do, you can't be the corporate brand that nobody can identify with. You need to be able to industrialize or scale your business, but still have that intimacy that drives the referrals. I think in the medical aesthetics business, at least in the business I'm involved in, you ask people where they found out about you. In Orange Twist case, about a third find out when they walk by the place. they poke their heads in, a third from referrals, and a third through our marketing. And weirdly, on the provider side with Hydrofacial, it's almost the same. Glow2 Facial, my newest brand, 40% of the people their esthetician finds out from them, 40% from friends, only 20% is our marketing. So all the things we do, being active and being a missionary versus a mercenary, I think, reap far bigger benefits.
Sure, thank you. And Sachin, do you have any from a Salon perspective in terms of partnerships?
I can tell you just 2 or 3 which we do with our teams. One of them is what we called, the abbreviation of it was called AWESOME. And it stood for Active with Enrich Social Media. So we got 2,000 people. So we did this program with them where we said each one of y'all has a unique voice. A lot of them are, 2/3 of them are artists and creative people. So we said any program that the company is running, we would love you to be active with it on your social media handles with your own voice and with whatever part of it that works for you. Because each one of you is also in touch with your regular customers, it all goes in the catchment, and this became, over a period of time, a very significant second layer of our entire engagement program with our customers. The second thing is, when your team does that, they also feel, very rightly so, that they are actually supporting the company along with the work that they do. So that was something that ran very well. We also did something called, we ran a hashtag called #CreateEnrich, where all the stylists and the beautician and the makeup artists, they put their work together under this hashtag, and centrally it gets curated and it goes out on various handles. So there are 800 people out there who are themselves curating their best work, putting it together in one place, and then it goes out. So that's the second one. And the third one was, when we are on this expansion spree, there are months where we are opening 6 stores, 8 stores, and we need a significant number of people. So rather than do the usual way, we've more than once done referral programs with our own teams, where we send people out to our own people, get a bunch of referrals. The entire senior team then becomes co-opted into the human resource effort. And we've done things like, over a week, in a central place, we've rolled out, say, 150 offers in 5 days' time, which then become very useful to power those many new outlets that we are doing. And it all is something that the existing team is helping you do. They're trying to find people like them,
Yes.
who they think will fit in.
Absolutely.
Goes a long way too. So just 2-3 examples.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to sit down on the panel yesterday around recruiting and some of the strategies that are going on there, and very much I'm seeing partnerships with beauty colleges and folks actually sending successful stylists and designers out to do recruiting from other places. So really fascinating stuff.
One of the things we do is we are the knowledge partner for a skill university in Mumbai, and we help put together the first formal graduation program in beauty and wellness in our country. That was something that wasn't there before.
Sachin, let's stay with you for a second. Looking to understand maybe some strategies that you have employed to develop new revenue streams.
Let me just to be faster, because I know that Joe here has got a hard stop. I'm just going to just highlight 2 or 3. The first one, and this is actually counterintuitive. One of the things I think we must all do to support our revenues is to actually work very hard on our brand. There is a lot of competition out there, and we always end up doing contextual, competitive, short-term stuff. But I believe while all of that is important, if you were to have a brand position, something that you can uniquely deliver, which is primordial to the domain, and if you connect each and every one of the things you do and take it through the lens of the positioning of the brand, then 2 things happen. Number one, not only do your immediate initiatives work, each of these things actually become like a multiplier. So one of the examples I have is, for example, if you're spending a certain amount of money on rental payment for your house versus actually getting a mortgage, one thing is just expensing out for that month, but the other one would actually increase your ownership, right? And I can give you many examples at Enrich where we've taken the most standard offer kind of initiative, but yet put it through the lens of the brand so that everything works cumulatively. An offer will actually is discounting, right? It reduces the cash flow that comes in. But if you do it through your brand, the prism or the brand's lens, then you are actually getting a cumulative benefit. So that is the one thing that we do. The second thing I would recommend is there is a huge opportunity to create IPs for your own brand. So there are some typical offers we run through the year which are custom branded exclusively to us. We do gamification and stuff, and we are running it 12 seasons, 13 seasons in a row. Finally, one last example is, for example, we have about 20% of our outlets which are in malls, and when the malls go through end of season sales, as a service provider primarily, there's only so much you can do in 2 days, whereas the product company next door might be able to sell 2 weeks worth of stuff out there. So what we did was, we did what we call productization of services. So we put together packages with different validity and ticket size. In that manner, in those 2 days, we were also able to sell services probably worth many weeks of work, right? And even that, we were able to do it through the prism of the brand. And time permitting, we can show you a couple of examples of that.
So creating packages, selling product, ways to get that revenue stream going.
And doing everything. It's like if each of your initiatives is like a pearl, you string it through, that's when it gets all together. Otherwise, you have a lot of good stuff, but it's scattered everywhere and doesn't actually give you the synergy or the cumulative benefit.
Great. Clint, same question. You know, new revenue streams, what types of strategies have you come up with?
Yeah, I think to Sachin's point, make sure all your branding can be used by your customers and your employees. They're your least expensive, most efficient way to market. In the case of Hydrofacial or Glow2 Facial, 85% of all the marketing, all the hashtags that you see on social media are all from the customers, and they do it for free. When we found out our issue was awareness, we bought an 18-wheel truck, we branded it, and we went around the country and we treated people for free. That sounds crazy, but we made the backdrop social media friendly, camera ready. Our customers worked it for free, and what we found is our customer, our provider, and our employees were the same person. So we just decluttered the message. We drove the single, 3 steps, 30 minutes, best skin of your life, got to get it to get it, created the social venue. They did the marketing for us. And 85% of the posting today are still those same folks. During the pandemic, we created the university, to your point. We had a lot of extra time on our hands. And so we created the university. It probably would have taken us 3 years to develop a curriculum. We did it in 6 months. And that became not only the workforce, but a way for estheticians to become master estheticians, pay themselves more or command more in the workforce. So I think taking the time where you've got scarcity, you've got a challenge, and putting it to work. I think so many times I hear the big company executives go, I'm going to do a $100 million marketing campaign to build that brand. Most of us out here don't have $100 million marketing campaigns, so you've got to find organic ways to put your customers, your employees to work for you. What you can do best is build your brand and understand why people do business with you, and if you've got a good idea, people will pick that up and run for you.
Perfect. So I'm going to combine a couple of philosophies that I've kind of noted down here. And I'm going to really meld it into learning from your customers, okay? Or using your customers to move your business forward. So, and this is, Joe, maybe you can answer first. Using customer feedback or using customers in more organic advertising, the whole influencers and social media and all that stuff. Can you give some examples of how you're using your customers to grow your business today?
Sure. So everything that Removery does is based on customer feedback. We absolutely obsess about our customers. In 2019, when we first formed, we spent 6 months building systems, processes, but at the same time we did a 6-month customer research project, which we spoke to around 350 customers, team members, tattoo artists, potential referrers, and found out really at that point we had 4 different brands that we were running, and we didn't know whether we were going to expand using those 4 brands, or whether we were going to use 2 brands, or whether we were going to have a single brand. So we were asking people what they liked, what they didn't like, what made them happy, what made them comfortable, why did they buy, why didn't they buy, and so we built up a whole library of customer insights and information, and spent the next 6 months really putting those into action as we rebranded. So as a pure play tattoo removal provider, we really only sell one thing. We sell it in packages, we sell it in pay-as-you-go services, but all of those have been built on exactly what the customers have told us that they wanted, and that's everything down to our website, every interaction with a customer through the call center, even the way that our studios are designed, the colors we use, the branding we use. So it really is down to, you know, people told us that they didn't like going into a dermatologist's office because it was white and bright, and they felt, you know, they didn't want to sit on the chairs there. So we made our studios look like they were a living room, they were comfortable, they were somewhere where people wanted to go and talk to their friends. Recently, we had some mystery shoppers out in market. We mystery shopped 23 markets in the US. Every single of those situations, of those clients went into dermatologists, plastic surgeons, tattoo shops, and explored every different option for tattoo removal. 22 of the 23 came back and said they would choose Removery as their tattoo removal provider. And in no case were we the cheapest. In no case did we quote the shortest number of sessions. And the 23rd person didn't select us because we didn't provide them a Wi-Fi password and said otherwise they would have. So I think that's testament to building your business on what the customer wants rather than what the people sitting in the boardroom want.
Great. And Clint?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, I agree with all of those. You know, I think you have the framework for your customers to talk about the brand. I think companies make a mistake, providers make a mistake when you try to police it. Sometimes if you build a good community, they'll self-police. And in my experience, if you listen in on those communities, they'll tell you what they want. You know, it's the old, whether it's Steve Jobs or Peter Lynch, just hang out at the coffee shop with young people and listen to what they want, or just watch what people are buying. And I think so often we kind of come with the cookie cutter, it's fed to us. And if you really listen to the unmet needs, also when you do focus group research, I think it's always a little challenging because if you ask somebody what they want, they'll say a faster horse, let alone an electric car. And so for me, I think setting up communities, listening to them, really authentically engaging with them, and then I would not police it. Because I found if somebody is outrageous in your community, whether it's 100,000 users or 100 users, if you built the right community and people are engaging with your brand, your community will come defend you before you have to. And you know, my last company was global in nature. Sometimes I'd get an alert at 11 o'clock at night that, you know, somebody went online and they said XYZ, and by the time I woke up in the US, it was fixed, but it was one of our Korean users that went in and said, that's not true, and they'd send a link, and it's so much more powerful when it's coming from your community that you built than some executive going on there and saying, that's not true, and we're gonna sue you. And I think when you think about good brands, brands that do well in the world, and put good out there versus ones that I would say are a little more evil, the evil ones always can be policing you, and the good ones don't have to tell people they are. So I would say that I love focus group research, but I think it's more roll up your sleeves and really get in there and talk to your customers about what they want.
Thanks. Okay, so I want to encourage folks, the QR codes on your table for Slido, go ahead and scan those. You can put some questions in. We're not going to have a ton of time. What I want to do, though, while you're doing that, is I'm going to play some videos that Sachin has brought with that I think really amalgamate this concept of using customers in your marketing while really, I guess, getting focused on your brand strategy, taking that step back. So let me go ahead and...
Just to give you context,
Sure.
I was telling you about the packages. Now this is a straightforward offer where you get more when you pay a certain amount. But what we've done is even a hardcore commercial message like that, we've put it through the whole positioning prism of the brand. So that's what you'll see.
The three most important people in my life: my dad, mom, and my brother. My grandmother, my father, and my sister. My dad, my mom, my sister. My mom, my sister, and my dad.
Rohit, my dad, Raju, my mom, and Jana, my sister. My mom, my dad, and my sister.
It's my best friend.
Bruno right now, absolutely.
My sister and
Would be Gina.
Nishita.
Because yeah, that's true.
All right, so I think you get the picture. We are short on time, so I think Sarah has informed me we're going to just take questions offline. Do post those questions in. We will make sure that they get answered. I want to thank the panelists. Every one of them has traveled here. Every one of them is on a tight schedule. Joe, you've been incredibly gracious with your time. I know you've been on several other panels, so thank you so much. Let's give it a round of applause. Thanks, everybody.